Hello. Today I'm going to present my topic. Understanding student perceptions of identity in digital connectivism learning environment. I am an assistant professor at University of Technology and Applied Sciences, Rustak College of Education in Oman. I hold PhD in e-learning from Exeter University, UK, and I have worked and published in many projects related to quality assurance, teaching in ELT field, TESOL, and e-learning. Okay, let's get started. Well, connectivism or connective learning environment have emphasized the role of the individuals or learners in learning by making online connections. So online spaces act as extensions or spaces for learning itself outside classroom or additional to classroom, but then by attempts made consciously by the individuals. So this theory extends for students' self-generated initiatives, and it really highlights the importance of self-generated initiatives in order for making learning. And that is explained as like leading to learning, where learners try to extend or try to connect with different resources in order to just grow or learn. So there is a need to understand how individuals perceive self interacting in a communicative or collaborative context for making progress or learning. So what is connective learning environment? It recognizes the role of online connections and communications with others that are done selectively and informatively, consciously towards projects that are critical and novel. So whenever students are involved in any kind of activity that lead to their learning, but in a way that the learner is consciously trying to learn, that is just explained by connectivism learning theory. So it is distributive in that it consists of networks of connections from experiences and interactions between constructs and agents. So learning or developing is rather strategic, founded in correctly linked nodes that eventually construct particular internal development of or change. Identity has been generally identified or defined as dynamic and cumulative. It is socially negotiated through the perceived educational construct, and the construction of identity occurs through process of learning that is mediated through participation, engagement, collaboration. So whenever there is a kind of participation, engagement, and collaboration, this will lead to construct a particular image of that particular individual. It is also characterized by multiplicity and complex in that students or learners demonstrate aspects or particular aspects that are different in particular contexts, and that are not really obviously, or necessarily obvious in other contexts. So the study aims to focus on, learner identity. There is evidence to date on the impact of curriculum or kind of activities or tasks that draw on connective learning theory. Research questions. The main research question is, how do a group of ASL learners negotiate their own connective and interconnective identity when writing and interacting within a writing community of researchers. So the sub-questions are, how do students perceive their academic identities in a connective ecospace? And then what is the nature of this disposition or relationship of oneself in a connective task? The methodology is a qualitative case study. The purpose is to understand the issue. How do students, what is identity actually? And it involves interviews, written reflections, analysis of the written reflections, teachers, and observations of students' engagement in relationship. The participants are 56 undergraduate students in a university at Oman. The language in English is really considered good. 6 IELTS band, female 25 and male 21. And they are in their third year of study at the university. They have covered around many ELT courses. And now they are currently doing the research project. The tools of data collection, as mentioned previously, focus groups, observations, text analysis. And now if we move to the results, I mentioned only silent results or findings. So the first one, or the first theme, it's the identity of being, knowledgeable learners, and these are really a very low number. These only 3 students out of 56, and these are characterized as really high level learners. These are highly academic achievers, and they have clear sense of their own level of knowledge in the target specialization. They, in terms of negotiation, they demonstrate acceptance, negotiation of meaning making, a clear understanding of how and when all to connect. And this is really important with regards to connectivism. They prefer isolation rarely from the task when their academic values did not fit together, or when they seem that they have a lot of knowledge that just they're working with lower students or level. They made connections that are informative and clearly influence their own learning or outcomes positively. The second group is it includes, and which is the major, characteristic of the identities of the learners. This is a challenging and overlapping identity. It is characterized by unstructured academic values and goals, so they do not really have a clear values or goals. Underlined the importance and challenges of maintaining positive group dynamics among peers. They always aim for maintaining positive group dynamics. They are more active in connecting than the other group I mentioned before. Lack of mediating skills or connection, and this is really important for connectivism learning environment and identity creation. Difficulties in managing critical thinking was observed. 6, at the level of performance, writing sometimes are poorly connected concepts and perspectives, because they were trying to please everyone in the group, and that is really also problematic. Number 7, students are supposed to accept the criticism by others, which can influence the harmony of group negatively. Some students justify breakdown of harmony as the perception of others and failure to position themselves in the learning of academic frame. So we reach to a connective and just general understanding of what is a connective identity from the perspective of the students, participants. It is identified as personal characteristics that include efforts to participate, persistence, responsibility, clear understanding of learning needs, needing to develop academic skills, digital literacy. It runs through an evaluation cycle in which participants' behavior analyzed to be suitable behaviors to connect or refrain from connected with a specific individual. Just very notable things to mention is that these were quoted by the participant. It also includes from their understanding, including suitable level of acceptance, being valued, and belonging, sense of belongingness, without which the interrelations cannot sustain. And then they are focusing on the behaviors, on the how, not on the end, which is the learning, as mentioned in the connectivism learning theory that focuses on learners. So quite notably, as Cole and Falsify indicate, individuals refrain from participation when there is a lack of acceptance at social level. So the study affirms, at a social level, actually, high-level students tend to be silent as well. So teachers here encourage or need to revisit their thoughts regarding behaviors of students in tasks, because some students who are really high, their level is really high, but we just refrain from participation. Another point that is really notable is that an imbalance in terms of individual contributions, engagement, and collaboration, which resonates with their level of collaboration as unbalanced one, which was revealed by another study. The ability to monitor groups' written outcomes is relative and conducive to self-directed learning, or in other words, individual self-directed learning, not a group-directed learning, which is a higher level of skills required. And then there was a need for, group-directed learning. I think it's a next stage that can be called for. Okay. Implications are the clearer the learner about his goals or needs, the less needing for identification and recognition by others, and vice versa. The instructors or tutors simply categorize learners by their academic performance or achievement, which is considered as oversimplification of student coexistence in class. Also, this calls for better identification of students' behavior, self-representation in the class in order to fit teaching methodologies suitable to students' behavior and hence create better involvement and engagement in the digital or physical relationships. Therefore, there is a call for rethinking of the way a collaborative task is usually constructed, and also in order to engender, a group learning mechanism. This is what I have yes, there are three more suggestions. Individual identity versus, these are three suggestions for further research. The first one, individual identity. There is a need to study the differences between individual identity, academic identity, social identity, focusing on intellectual representation of an academic identity and making use of individual discussions on developing bridging programs for entry to university. And thank you very much. This is what I have to say today. Thank you for listening.